Okay, now I'm gonna show you how to do one-step equations. So just solving one step is, we're solving for x here, and it looks stuff like this. So let's do addition and subtraction first. Okay, so it looks like this, where we have like x plus 3 is equal to 7. So when we do stuff like this, what we're doing is we're working through PEMDAS backwards to solve for this number. Because if we just have, let's say we just have an equation where we're like 2 plus 3 divided by 5, right? And so we know this is 1. Well, let's say we didn't know what this number was. Let's say this is our x. So we have to work backwards to figure out what x is. And that's what we're doing here when we solve for x. So we're just working backwards to find out what that missing number is. So that's why we have to do the opposite operation, because if you're working backwards here, you would multiply by 5, then subtract 3, and then boom, you'd get that number. So for here, we only have one step, so it's not too bad. So since this is adding 3, we have to subtract 3 to both sides. So this now becomes, so this cancels to 0. So this now becomes x equals, and then 7 minus 3 is 4. Okay, so you always want to get your variable on its own because you're solving for it. So whenever you're having trouble like, oh, do I move the 7? Do I move the 3? Well, where's your variable? It's right here. You want that on its own, so you have to move the 3 to the other side. Okay, let's look at another addition one. Let's do like x plus 5 is equal to like negative 22. Okay, so we need to subtract the 5, right, from both sides. And we have x equals negative 22 minus 5 is negative 27. Okay, cool. Now let's look at what happens when we put in subtraction. So let's say x minus 7 is equal to negative 13. Okay, so now we have to do the opposite operation, which is now addition. So we add the 7 to both sides because we want to solve for x. So negative 13 plus 7 is negative 6. Boom. Okay, so simple enough. Okay, let's say we have a negative 8 plus x equals 12. Well, you're like, okay, this is addition, but because this is negative, remember how subtraction is like adding a negative? Since this is negative and we need to move it to the other side, if we just subtract another 8, this would now be negative 16 over here instead of 0. So when we have a negative number like this being added to x, we have to add 8 to cancel that out to 0. So we add 8 to this side too, and we get x is equal to 20. Cool. Okay, now let's do some multiplication and division. Okay, so for let's do multiplication first. So let's say we have 5x is equal to 25. Okay, so in order to solve for x, we are now having 5 being multiplied by x, so we have to do the opposite operation, which is 5, or divide by 5. And so then we have our answer, which is x equals 5. Woohoo! Okay, let's do another one. Let's say now we have like 2x, let's say we have negative 2x is equal to 14. So a lot of my students will think, oh, this is subtraction, so I need to add, which is not, because the 2 is right next to the x, so that's multiplication, and that's just a negative. So you have to divide by negative 2. And we have 14 divided by negative 2 is going to be a negative 7. Eek. Okay, cool. Let's do a division one now. So let's say we have x divided by 3 is equal to negative 12. Okay. So since this is division, because like I said before, fractions are just division, So since this is division, we have to multiply, which is our opposite operation. So multiply by 3, that cancels out to 1. Multiply by 3, right? So x is equal to negative 36. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do another few, just to like make sure it's good. What number did I end on? Good. Okay, 8. I ended on 8. Okay, so let's say I had a okay, so let's say I had this. Okay, right, we need x on its own. It's being divided by negative 12. So we have to multiply by negative 12 to get that to cancel to 1. So then we just have x. So negative 4 times negative 12 is negative 48. Okay, cool. Now let's add some fractions, because why not? Is it focused? Focus. There we go. Okay, let's add some fractions. Okay, so let's say we had 3/4 x is equal to, I don't know, let's just say some random number. Let's just, why don't we just do like 1/2? Okay. So you're like, Sabrina, okay, well, it's a 3/4. Like, what do I do with a fraction? So we need this to just be x by itself, right? So we need to multiply this to cancel it out to 1, right? So it's just 1x, so just x. So whenever you multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, it cancels to 1. So if I had like 3/4 times its reciprocal, which is 4/3, right? I mean, you can see that 3 and 3 cancel and the 4 and 4 cancel, but if you wanted to continue, it's 12 over 12, which is just 1. So when we're doing this problem, I'm going to do it down here. Okay, so we have to multiply both sides by 4/3, because then this fraction will cancel all out, and then we have x is equal to, if you see, we can simplify already right here. 2 goes into 4 twice. So 1 times 2, 2, 1 times 3, 3, 2/3. Okay, let's do one more fraction one, just in case. Let's do 7, negative 7 over 6x is equal to, let me just think of some random numbers. Okay, cool. Let's say we have this now. Okay, so remember, in order to cancel it out, we have to multiply by 6 over 7, and it has to be -2, as negative as well. So multiply both sides by -6 over 7, that's its reciprocal. -6 and 7, so then, right, that cancels to 1, so it's just x. And then you can see we can also simplify this, since 3 goes into 6 twice. So you have -2 times 11, -22. And then 1 times 7, which is just 7.